artificial intelligence and machine learning in our mind? Simply put, AI is the science of making things smart, and machine learning is a technique that is actually used to develop artificial intelligence. Now, machine learning can be thought of as a branch of artificial intelligence, a way to solve problems without explicitly codifying the solution, and a way to build systems that actually improve themselves over time. In coders' worlds, it basically means going from a system whereby you actually need to code a computer with explicit rules to follow, to a computer program whereby you basically write a program that learns from the examples without it necessarily being codified to address every single issue and every single problem. Or in layman's terms, machine learning is learning from examples and experience. The key elements of machine learning and AI, the ones that have actually brought about the AI revolution itself, are data, computation, and algorithms. Very quickly, and I know that anecdotally some of you have already heard about this, there have been people who have come out and said that only in the last year or two, the amount of data that has been created in this world has actually been bigger than the amount of data that has been created in the world from the emergence of mankind up until a year ago. So there's a tremendous amount of data that's actually being created on a daily basis through signals, through sensors, through the machines that we're using, through IoT, and so on and so forth. So we have a wealth of data in the world. In addition to that, we also have more and more powerful computing machines. You are all also aware of the Moore's law, whereby the actual amount of computing power roughly doubles every 2 years. And basically, at this point in time, the most powerful computational machines are an order of magnitude, many orders of magnitude bigger than anything that we have had before, and they actually bring about the change and the need that we have in order for the emergence of the AI. And then finally, the powerful algorithms that are created by a number of different companies and enterprises in the world, from Google through Facebook through IBM and many, many more. All of them coming together are basically what is driving the emergence and the AI revolution that we're seeing today. How does it work in practice? And just maybe by one example, deep neural networks have been mentioned before as one of the ways of learning, one of the ways of how machine learning works. And in essence, what that means is basically it's a two-step process. So think of it as a repository of data, let's say pictures of cats and dogs, and we have millions of such pictures on the internet, for example, that are labeled by them being either a cat or a dog. They're then basically being put through a pattern, through an algorithm, which tries to identify all the key components, the very, very basic components to very sophisticated components of what actually makes a cat or a dog. And they're deep, which means they're multi-layered. So for example, the very first basic layer could basically be asking a question whether there is a white color in the picture or a gray color in the picture or an orange color in the picture, all the way up to some of the, for example, higher layers whereby the question may be whether the animal in the picture has whiskers or not. And obviously in this particular case, the animal with the picture would be a cat, with the whiskers would be a cat and not a dog. So the thus trained algorithm would essentially be trained to recognize and differentiate a cat from any other animal that would be kind of put through the system. In the second step, we would basically have a testing. So you would put an unlabeled picture through the system, and the algorithm would try to basically deduce, based on everything that it has learned, whether we have a picture of a cat or a dog, right? And the advantage of that is because of the computing power, because of the amount of data that we actually have, it can do that millions and millions and millions of times, gradually becoming better and better at it until such time whereby the actual recognition or the accuracy of the algorithm starts benchmarking or even exceeding the human capabilities. So since 2016 in particular, we have been using machine learning and AI in a lot of our products. So, and we have actually seen the actual use of deep learning as a technique accelerating very, very rapidly. So for example, for some of the products you might be aware of, in search, the search ranking with the speech recognition, they all use AI. Video recommendations or better thumbnails on YouTube use AI. Smart reply, spam classification. How many of you guys are still getting a lot of spam? Probably not as many as much as you would without the AI. Actually, AI has been trained to recognize spam so well that 99.9% of all spam is actually being intercepted before you actually ever see it. And it would end up in your spam folder. So a lot of these things are already at work. A lot of these things are already functioning at a pretty high level of accuracy. Google Translate is also one such product. How many of you guys are using Google Translate? A lot, so it's useful. One of the things about Google Translate is that before 2016, before we actually applied an algorithm to it, a lot of what has been done has basically been done through the use of the actual human translators. And we have come to a certain level of accuracy that you can actually see depicted here on the with the blue bars. What we have then done in 2016, we have changed the algorithm. So we have an augmentation of the algorithm that has been devised by the human translators by using the AI. And you can see with green bars, what is the kind of improvement that we have seen from the what we call the phrase-based to the neural or GNMT system of using Google Translate. And with orange or yellow, you see how much we have left to actually match the performance of Google Translate powered by AI to the actual human translators. And you can see in some cases, for example, the French to Spanish English language pair or English to Spanish, that difference has almost disappeared. One example just to demonstrate this, so the back translation from Japanese. So we have actually used the old algorithm and the new algorithm to take the excerpts from The Snows of Kilimanjaro by Hemingway, translate it into Japanese using Google Translate Old and Google Translate New, and then kind of translate it back to English. You look at what we had in the first example. Kilimanjaro is the 19,000 feet of the mountain covered with snow, and it is said that the highest mountain in Africa, top of the West, in the Maasai language has been referred to. So very clunky, right? Not in the way that the human would actually say it. You compare that to a new system, and the only two mistakes that the algorithm had were actually the uses of articles A and V that it was actually putting in where they were not supposed to be put. So a lot of progress has been made, obviously, in very real terms in this particular product by using AI. Google Photos is another product we've launched, I think in 2016 as well. For those of you who are using it, and there are quite a lot of people who are using it, AI that is integrated in this system is basically allowing you to search for photos. So your photos, not the photos from the internet, have been labeled by anyone. Your photos, unlabeled photos, and to actually recognize images in your picture. You can use it to search for your pets. You can actually search it to recognize your friends because there's an image recognition. You can use it to search for photos of the beach and so on and so forth. Again, the way that it does it is it has been trained on all the pictures that we have available on the internet, and that algorithm is now being used in a product to actually recognize and label and categorize the pictures of your own. We're also using it in voice recognition. So voice is becoming more and more the way that we actually interact with the machines, especially with mobile phones. Actually, in the US at this stage, we have around 20% of all the queries that are being asked of Google on mobile are actually happening via voice. So the actual voice recognition that happens on your mobile, through your mobile, in order to actually recognize that query, in order to translate that query into a language that the computer can understand and kind of spit out the result, is another way of how we're using machine learning and artificial intelligence. Another product, Google Trips. I don't know how many of you guys are using it. It actually helps you put together the patterns and kind of the places to see and things to do for any visit that you might have to any given city, using a lot of inputs that we're seeing from other people who have been to that city, things that they have liked, again, kind of collecting and putting